Yeah, different format today, huh?
Yeah, I mean the Discord streaming really has been failing us on the
Bro,
past few weeks.
I know it's been frustrating.
Uh,
Hello. It is
Hello,
interesting
everyone.
since Zoom is so like video forward and Discord is like a lot more like the stage idea. It's sort of like changes the feel.
Yeah. I think LM the Paper Club does has been on Zoom for a while, but I don't really attend. I'm not sure if anyone
Yeah,
else does, and see if there's
I'm
any
usually busy
format.
that time.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So we're probably gonna have a smaller crowd this week, because it's AI Engineer Conf. Usually K-Ball and Manuel leads it, but then they're leading their track at AI Engineer. Yeah. So, oh yeah, we still have some people coming in. So yeah, th this week we're going to uh do a recap on AI Engineer Conf. So it's Lightning Talks free for all. If you watch any of the talks and you're interested in you, just talking about it, you don't even have to present about it. You can just say, "Oh, I learned. I thought these things were interesting. Do we have any more ideas or any more discussion about that?" That's what we're doing today. One, so I'll go. I'll talk about what I watched. I watched a few different ones, but I think my highlight is probably Eugene's LLM recommender system keynote. So that's something I want to talk about. I think Zach, you had something else, right?
So I just found the keynotes. I wasn't able to scrub through, like 8 hours of video on the day two or, four different 4 hour talks in each of the different lines from yesterday. But the keynotes, like, I watched the intro from Swix, and then I started to watch the like end of day one where he interviewed someone, I think someone from, oh, yeah, Greg Brockman, it was. I started watching it and then I got onto other work stuff, so I didn't have a chance to like really digest it. But I could probably like, you know, we could talk through the Swix slides maybe if we wanted to, because that's definitely the highest level.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. And what was Greg Broadman's again? Was something about agents? That'd be interesting to talk about
Um,
too.
yeah, I'm pulling it up on my side. Oh my
Uh,
God. Google, get it together, Google. YouTube, ad blockers are not allowed on YouTube. Like, I I know. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like we have some others who just dropped in. So just for you who have just dropped in, we're doing lightning talks on recaps about different talks in AI Engineer Conf. So if you have a talk that you liked and you want to talk about, feel free to put your hands up here and we'll get started. So we have two, one from myself and then one from Zach. Do we have any other volunteers in the crowd who want to talk about something? It's very informal.
I mean, there's six people. Should we just like go around, say hello? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Let's just do that. Let's go with Daniel since you're a regular, if you feel comfortable doing that.
Sure. Hey everyone. Yeah, my name's Daniel. I live in Hawaii, so I am pretty far away from AI Engineer Conference. But
Three time zones, even.
yes, yeah. So yeah, I've been way too busy with work and kids and stuff to watch any of the talks. But part of the reason I'm here is to figure out which ones I should watch first when I get around to it. So yeah.
Cool.
Anyone else want to introduce themselves? We got Adam here.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm outside Chicago. I post in Discord as Fame, and
Hey, face to the name now. Okay.
There we
you
go. There we
know,
go.
would have loved to have come to San Francisco, but my daughter's eighth grade graduation was yesterday, so missed it. And so I'm very looking forward to anything people want to present here.
Awesome, awesome. And is Alan the same Alan on Discord?
Yeah, I'm Alan. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Loud and clear.
All right. I'm a little weird. I'm on like you're connecting you from a computer that I'm remoting into that's like on the other side of the room. So because I'm on my work laptop trying to get some work done as I listen. I'm also uh yeah, I'm also didn't have a chance to kind of watch anything. I was hoping to extract some information from the rest of you today, so being a lurker. But ultimately, like, anyways, I'm in Nelson, British Columbia, Canada, uh, and yeah, I'm always keen to get into some topics. I have read an article recently that's kind of a little bit meta about language models, which I'm happy to share and talk about if we don't get into any topics. It's not related to AI conf, but I can share that document and we can chat about it a little bit.
Sounds good, sounds good. Tyler, are you a regular on Discord?
Yeah, I'm a carryover from the paper club. I've been with that group for probably the last 6 months, and then recently started joining these talks, and trying to branch out a little bit more. I'm Seattle based, and then actually quit my job about a year ago after 8 years of web dev experience to do a master's in CS. So I didn't want to splurge for the conference without a paycheck coming in. But excited to join you guys.
Awesome. Again, we have a new drop in here, Kevin. So we're just doing lightning talk recaps on and AI on the AI Engineer Conf. If you have anything you want to share, go for it. And do you want to introduce yourself? If not, we can just continue on.
Sure, aloha. I'm Kevin. I'm based on Oahu, Hawaii. Yeah, we're super interested in the developments of this week. I gave a brief talk about WebSim like eons ago in this group. I think I'm really motivated to have Hawaii remain in the. It's not. It's there are no tech hubs here, and so I love the inspiration I get this group in particular because it's very practical. I've been using the Harper method I learned from this group a few weeks ago, like relentlessly and really engineering that prompt into something reusable by the community here. So yeah, I teach CS at a community college, having
Cool.
left my tech job a couple years ago myself. So cool. But
Yeah.
that's it. I'm excited to listen and hear if anyone has intel from what's happening in San Francisco this week.
Yeah, hey Kevin, I'm actually over in Kauai, so yeah, even less tech here.
Nice.
But yeah, I know how you feel.
I love Kauai. Beautiful.
You know, actually, from the small world files, I went to college with Harper. And so I saw someone was posting about was going to do a talk about his blog post. And so I said, you should crash this. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that was cool having him speak
So
to
that
that.
was you made the connection because it was like, wait,
That's
he's
right. Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Oh wow, small world. All right, let's get started then. So I guess I'll go first since I volunteered. Let me share my screen here. I don't use Zoom regularly either, so bear with me here.
I guess to vamp a little, since we already did like a round of intros, I haven't introduced myself. Zach, you've seen me on the Discord, I'm sure. I tend to post a lot in AI in action. Based outside New York City, sort of outskirts. And yeah, I couldn't make it to SF, but I'm glad that there's a group of other people who are in the community that are like, hey, let's talk about what happened that we weren't able to physically participate in, but we could do it virtually.
Thanks, Zach. Oh, okay, I guess I'll introduce myself as well. Of course, Nuvik on Discord. That's also how you pronounce my real name. I'm based in Vancouver, BC, and I have an 8-month-old baby, so that makes me very busy and not able to go much other places.
Nice, yeah. Our littlest one just turned 1 today, so yeah.
Awesome,
Really,
awesome. You can relate.
yeah.
All right, so what I'm going to talk a little bit about. Oh, what the? Okay, so this is Eugene Yan's Improving Recommender System and Search with LLM Techniques. So it's a very high overview since it's a keynote, but I thought it was actually really interesting the level of the number of different techniques that he talks about, and it's very creative. That's what I found. So I'm going to just going to go through different timestamps and use his slides because the slides are really good. Um, No. So let's start on this one here. So one challenge for doing recommender system is that high quality metadata is essential for search, but it's also costly and high effort to get. And his solution, yeah. His solution is to have a lightweight classifier just to filter out bad recommendations. So let's see what that really means. I think it's here. So this is an example at Indeed, the job board. And they're trying to filter out bad job recommendations. Oh, do you see my mouse moving? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna start on the left side here. The first thing they did is to prompt open LLMs like Llama 2 and Mistral 7B, but poor performance, unfortunately. And then, oh, there's something here, but I forgot what this was. We can move to the next step. So the next step, they upgrade the model to prompting GPT-4, but the problem is that it's too costly and it's also quite slow. About 22-second that's really bad latency for filtering out jobs. So what they did next is they tried to go to, I guess, a faster model, prompted GPT 3.5, but poor precision on bad matches. Next up, they tried to fine tune that GPT 3.5. They got really good precision at a quarter of the cost of GPT-4's cost and latency, but it's still not good enough, right? The latency is 6.7 seconds. So at this point, the fine tuning, I think they got the precision they wanted, but the latency is just really bad. So their final solution is that they had a distilled lightweight classifier. And this is based on fine-tuned GPT 3.5 labels. So these are I guess artificially generated labels from the fine-tuned 3.5, and they just use this lightweight classifier based on those labels, and they found that that worked the best in terms of precision and latency. I don't have any more details if you have questions, because his keynote is actually just high level like that. I think if you do want to learn more, these specifics might be presented in later presentations for the specific stream. So I'll send a link to the stream out in the chat later. Or Zach, if you could do that as well, since you know where it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can drop that link in this chat. It's also there's a thread on Discord where we've been collecting links.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
actually,
that's too.
quick question. So I haven't done much fine tuning or distilling. Like, what's the like software engineer abstraction that I should like think of it like? Because I have felt like we talked about the paper club. I haven't attended much. I tried to attend once and it was like really low level technical for where I'm at. But I want to learn, but I have to like start, iteratively just in time learning what I need. So like I've seen distilled models. Like there's like the Qwen 8 version of DeepSeek. I think R1 has a Qwen 8. What exactly like I guess it's like maybe this is off topic to get too deep into it, but I'm curious how that works.
That's a
And
good
if you don't know,
question.
that's cool
Do
too.
we?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I can give you the details. Does anyone have a better idea, a better sense?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the two-line TLDR is you usually take like a larger model, like a usually called like a teacher model, and then distill it into like a student model, which I think in this application is helpful because the smaller models usually can run faster and are less resource intensive. So I think that's probably where we see the movement on latency.
So I guess like one layer deeper, right? Like if there's some number of inputs, some number of outputs, and a mess of a neural network in between, like what does that actually translate to?
Um, Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to actually do the distillation. You can train on like the actual activations, or you can train on like the output of the teacher model. But I think abstractly, you can think of it as like a black box. So like instead of having the student have to learn from scratch, you have like the bigger teacher model like learn everything, and then the student is given the same inputs that the teacher is given, and then is trained on the outputs from the teacher. So its losses, how closely, given those inputs, can it recreate the outputs from the teacher model?
Interesting.
Super
Okay.
Interesting. Thanks for that, Tyler. I think there's one other example. So this is also interesting. It's kind of UI based as well. So this is an example from Spotify. They have a talk later on. They just want to improve their exploratory search queries. So let's say they have like new categories at Spotify, like they have audiobooks now at Spotify or a podcast, and they want to help the user search for these new items, but in the catalog of known items. Whoa, I think I skipped too much. So the solution is what they have on the right side here. You can see that there's two red boxes. Oh, I can annotate. Interesting. The first one here is new query suggestions. And then the second one here is what you expect is like the specific items that they give you. So what they did is extract some catalog titles, search logs, users' recent searches, metadata rules, and LLMs. Then there's a bit of a magic here where they combine everything. I really don't know what happens here, but then you can expect that the regular existing results are basically just the titles and the songs. But what they're trying to do is, if you're trying to improve search queries for new categories, that they have these new recommended queries here. I'm guessing these are recommended queries or LLM generated. And then this seems to help the new users find new categories within their existing known catalogs. So I guess for me the main improvement is just a UI sort of thing. Let's see what else there is. Oh, is it I think the Etsy one's also. You know, the Etsy one I don't understand too well, but intuitively how he explained it makes sense. Whoa, how do I clear the annotation? Let's see here. There we go. So Etsy, their problem was that they want to help users get better results with highly specific or broad queries. So here, let's say user searches Mother's Day gift. It does not match any product vocabulary, right? That's one problem. And also like embedding retrieval, what you think of as a semantic or even lexical retrieval. Uh, it doesn't account for user preferences. So let's see what they did here. Wait. Okay. So the final slide is really here. So on the right side here is the query vector. So here you have your query embedding. Then they appended this quality vector. So the quality vector is something like product rating, freshness conversion rating, and a product encoder. Um, I think I guess their main innovation is that they added two embeddings together from different, I guess different areas of semantic of their semantic search, and by adding two different embeddings, they were able to improve their search. Wait, I think I have to go to a previous slide to make that make sense. Okay, yeah.
So it sounds like they basically, rather than having a complex recommendation algorithm built from scratch, they sort of treated an LLM as a like general purpose thing that they fine-tuned for this specific use case. Is that a fair take?
Um, That could possibly be that. I don't know too many of details, but the main thing here is just for me, it's just that they concatenate embeddings from two different I guess black boxes. So, for example, wait, let me
Interesting.
just quickly pop you a Swix. I think he has this. No. Yeah, so that's all for me. I'll probably dig
Cool.
into these into more detail just to understand that a bit more. But Eugene's was a keynote and overview. Zach, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get screen share working. Desktop 2, share. Allow. Is screen share coming through?
Yep.
I see a thumbs up.
Yep.
I figured I'll just do kind of the same thing, but with like the opening keynote. So, I did find it kind of funny, like the stress index level. The big recommendation of like, hey y'all, if you're going to the event, please register way ahead of time because last minute stuff is very stressful for organizers. I appreciate the transparency. And as someone who has organized events, not at this scale, but who smaller scale stuff, like it's nice to sort of have the organizer sort of like show behind the curtain a little bit. It was interesting seeing the evolution. So I discovered this Discord before the podcast actually because I was at a Ruby conference because I did Ruby on Rails. That's, I'm a Ruby pilled millennial. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to get connected with more people that are doing like this crazy AI stuff. I was like still very new to it. And the guy at the event was like, oh yeah, you got to check out this podcast and join the Discord. And I was like, oh, cool. And I started with the Discord because I'm kind of over most social media. It's just, ugh. But the Discord's got a really solid group of people having really genuine conversations. So I was like, yeah. And like to see the evolution is interesting too, and to see the growth of this space. Um, there is a survey. I thought that was interesting. If any of you care to fill that out, it's in there. But moving forward a little bit, like there was some shout outs to other like people that helped with the organizing. I thought that was kind of a nice nod to the community. But the real like, if I had to sort of skim forward, I don't even remember that one. And we're keeping this high level, so I'm just going to keep kind of flipping forward. Um, there's a couple of I thought it was like pretty wild to think like there were conferences that were on like the bleeding edge of physics, and we are in a space like this literally the frontier of software right now. So it's just kind of like wild to take a step back and realize that. Um, and this like hovering around this slide, I think that there's definitely some stuff to be gathered, but I kind of want to skip forward a bit. Um, that was interesting, but I have more. There was a couple of slides further on that were probably an easier conversation piece. Yeah, I like this slide a lot. Sort of like trying to frame the human input to valuable AI output. And I'm sure like digging deeper into the talks, there's more of that, but like this was pretty powerful slide for me to think like, you know, often I'm operating at this level, like I'm using a lot of like hand holding agents. And I know that on the AI and Action channel, like there's a bunch of people who have been doing a lot more like higher level abstractions where they trust even more what the agent is outputting, but they get more expensive. And like that's not represented here, right? Like an ambient agent where like there's no human input, but it's producing something valuable is there's a lot of tokens floating around, I'm sure, and that's going to get expensive. Um, but even just like starting to try and use more reasoning models, I'm excited. And I've done a couple of like, dabbling into deep research, but I haven't really dug that deep. Um, but I thought that was really powerful. Um, And then he kind of gives this big picture view. So I commented in the channel. I just thought it was funny that he was sort of joking, like, what's an agent? It's just 3 scripts in a trench coat. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I skimmed it quick, and like a bunch of you in this room, it was like I've been too busy with other stuff, personally and professionally, to be able to attend and to like really sort of like do the pre-reading. Um, so yeah, I'm not really sure what else to strike up conversation on for this talk. Other than like this was when I was skimming through, this was the one that stood out to me as like the highest level for me to then sort of iteratively dig through. I did ask on the channel in the thread if anybody has any specific agentic tools that they like to use to like ingest long YouTube videos to be able to extract knowledge out of it. Because you know, this is an 8.5 hour video, and I don't even know if the transcript is available yet. And this one barely even has chapters because the other ones don't. So if anyone has any suggestions on tools they have used or intend to use to try to get a digest from this, besides like, community as the agent, I am all ears. I am nothing but ears. I'm not hearing anyone. I guess no one's super stoked to share on that front. So I guess we'll async that conversation for later. I did start watching this one, but I don't know. It's just the format of it as like interview.
Oh, there's
I
no
started
slides.
watching
We
it, but
can't even.
yeah, it's harder to skim. And like I'm sure I could, they might have auto-generated captions. But the opening was very much like, tell us about who you are. And I was like, I'm looking for actionable information, not like this guy's CV, which is like part of the conversation. Absolutely. Like that's his credentials to be like, yes, I know what the hell I'm talking about. But I was kind of hoping for something a little bit more like quick grab. Cool. I can use that today to change how I'm operating. I guess it's also like the people that are there right now. Like I noticed this morning I popped on pretty early East Coast time and saw like Swix had been posting, right? He's been, nonstop this whole week as like one of the lead organizers. Um it's like his Twitter just had like the, sleeping Z's emoji next to his name because I'm sure we'll be getting more, filtering in over the next week as people have like managed to sleep after spending the whole week just talks, hallway track. You're on Twitter, you're on Discord, you're on this, you're on that. So there's probably going to be some of that, like, firsthand reports of what they gathered from the talks. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to just what conversations spark from that like collection of people around an event, whether it's us remotely or, those that were there in person. In the 6th grade, my dad taught me algebra, and in 7th grade, I showed up at the high school first time. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Oh, this is
love
really his
that.
bio.
Right. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like, I also haven't been keeping track of any other channels besides Discord because, like, I don't know. X just I like that the Discord is like closed with an open door. So it means that the quality of conversation is like it's higher signal noise ratio. And there's no advertising orientation, right? If there is advertising like on the share your work channel, it's like advertising, hey, I'm a startup and I built this thing and I want to share that with y'all. And also like, hey, let's product market test each other's stuff. So it's like the healthiest advertising I've ever seen on a Discord. Um, Whereas X, it's just like, oh man, there's whew, it's just a lot out there, man. The open internet's getting especially weird.
Can I ask for tips in a parallel fashion around, you mentioned 8 hours of YouTube. I feel similarly about the value on Discord. I love
Okay.
that. I love the small AI mailer that does a lot of the Discord crawling that I want and that it keeps itself up to date. But I'm curious if any anyone here has tips on getting the best of Discord into context.
I have some
I
thoughts, but I can open it up.
yeah, I have very basic thoughts. I join whatever channels I find interesting, and then if I don't see any like value after a couple of weeks, I just mute it. So that's how I keep my chat my number of Discord servers to a minimum. Yeah, aggressive muting, basically.
I guess when I say into context, I mean LLM context as opposed to my brain.
Oh, like how do you actually like ingest a textual representation of all of this into something where you could like have a conversation with an agent about what people were talking about?
Yeah, like getting, Discord's awesome for just dropping in kind of like this where we're just talking and you kind of get the like local gradient, but like what if you crave something like the like broader analysis of what a Discord is talking about, trends, right? Things like that. So, I think most of our brains are going in this direction where can I get the bigger corpus, right? And can I get like information out of that bigger corpus than just reading it as a human would do? So I'm curious if anyone right, like if I'm just learning how to be a better bot writer and making relationships with community owners such that my bot gets to sit and watch, or if there's obviously just like gross copy pasting, right? Like, but
Right?
if anyone,
Or like set up Playwright against like discord.gg in browser, but then you're doing like crazy web scraping
right,
stuff.
right, which we're willing to do if anyone has success stories, but might want to save myself time for not, just I think that's the beauty of communities. We can also talk about maybe what hasn't worked.
Yeah, I to Nivik's point, I just have like a couple channels and I'm AI in Action is like probably my most visited channel on all of Discord. And then I've got like one or two channels on about 5 or 6 Discords that I only look at those. Like I aggressively mute and I hide channels that are like I hide all the politics channels because I just don't find those conversations personally productive. Um, but like I guess it really depends on what I'm looking for any given day because I will kind of like pop into water cooler or like non-AI tech on the latent space Discord. AI news I'll keep an eye on. Sometimes I check share your work, maybe like once a week, but like that's all very human as the loop. I haven't really tried applying anything sort of like machine learning or agentic or whatever we want to call it to that to help like digest the context, have that large corpus of interesting information and then get something actionable. I haven't tried that yet. I am curious. I have built some Discord bots. I mean, like the AI in Action Discord bot is a open source project that anyone in this group could theoretically contribute to. I don't know if we want to maybe try to train it to do some of that training or that not training, I guess I should say like train it to digest the channel. Like we have talked about that, but no one's really acted on it. So theoretically, there is a path forward on that idea that you could like your effort would benefit the community, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest barrier is, once you sit down and think about it, is that you're either going to violate the Discord terms of service, which, who gives a shit? Or if you want to play it their way, then you have to get like your permission for your bot in all of these other channels in servers. And like, I would be like, no, of course. And so, but since we have one and this is a high volume, Discord and a high signal Discord, it might be one of the most valuable places to try this idea.
I'm going to dig up the link to the repo.
Thanks. In the meantime, do we have anyone else who wants to talk about AI engineer talk or want to discuss it?
I'm curious if anyone jumped on the tiny teams track. I, also have a young child at home, so I'm kind of in and out attention wise, but like curious if that one, especially for this audience that's maybe not close to SF geographically or has other reasons why we're all kind of like home base right now. like I think that there's special resonance for us, maybe remote planets that where tiny teams is really exciting.
Yeah, I didn't
That's right.
catch the talk yet, but I agree. My company is 3 people right now, so we are, and yeah, I'm also, they're both, in like Oregon and Texas, and so yeah, it's a bigger and bigger thing. And yeah, we're seeing a huge amount of productivity just with like Cloud Code. We got a max subscription for all 3 of us, and we're just putting stuff out left and right. Um, the PR reviewing definitely becomes an issue. That's the real bottleneck, I think, right now.
Yeah, I split between a 2-person and a 4-person team.
Yeah,
So I'm also
I'm a
interested in the small team
two-person
concept.
garage startup. Yeah. And it's me outside New York City and my co-founder who's in like Iowa City, which is the extra time zone is totally workable for the two of us. But like this morning we were trying to figure out like, because we're doing a garage style, it's like we have to make sure that, we can't throw like thousands of dollars at LLM calls in a month. But like, how do we find that sweet spot of getting the most output value from it without having to spend a ton of money? Because, we're still trying to find traction and revenue and try to find signal, as it were. So, if there's no specific like talks stuff, I think was it Alan who had the blog post that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, well, it's just something that's sort of AI. Well, it is AI related that I is on my mind, so I can talk about it a little bit. I thought it was kind of interesting. Let me see here.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
this is
conversation piece, right?
it's a conversation piece. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit like more like meta in terms of like, do models really think? And if there's some, this is the first time I've come across anything that's a little bit more related. Let's just close all my other tabs here. Uh, oh, there's nothing in there. No client stuff. Okay, good. Um, can you all see my screen here? This is just the document, but it's pretty interesting. So basically, it's a very long read, and actually haven't gone through the whole thing here. But this is there's a group of researchers that are trying to figure out whether the this particular model, which was Claude 3.5 Haiku, um, exhibited attributes of precognition. And so the experiment is kind of interesting that they went through. They took they took a model. So they went through a few different experiments actually. So like there were some examples they went through that for multi-step reasoning. The planning in poems was actually a really interesting one that I'd go through. And a few of these and medical diagnosis I just started kind of reading, and it's I haven't quite wrapped my head around it yet. But the basic theory here, sorry if I'm scrolling too fast and making you dizzy, but the basic idea here is like they've had the model out. And so it's like a representation of the model, and they created what was called the replacement model. And the understanding that I have here is okay. So for you have a series of tokens, which will be your question or your input into the model, and that would go through a whole bunch of layers. And at each layer, you'd have output, and that output can represent a particular uh, a token, which could end up in the final output, but they call it an activation, so an activation inside the layer. Um, and effectively, they recreated a model that behaves fairly similarly. And then for certain layers, they would basically freeze that output. And the reason why they were doing this was to understand how what is seemingly later in the chain or a later token that comes out of the model um, would impact earlier tokens that would come out. And this is the most apparent in the poetry example that I talked about. And so because a lot of these things are happening at the same time, they're kind of running in parallel as the model, as the transformer is executing. And so there's been really, really huge impacts on the total output. And if I take a look down, so this is a kind of explaining like their methods and how they have one model and then the replacement model and how they talk about how it's not perfect. It doesn't really behave the same way. This is even like a simplification. So I'll let you folks get through reading it. But the really interesting piece here to me, so here's kind of a simplification of like we would have a series of tokens. So let's see, what was the question here? The question was like, what is the capital of the state that has Dallas in it, I believe. And so if we take a look as this like a simplification of the layers that are moving through, in this case, and it's just kind of describing the methodology, they would freeze or they would reduce the chances of Texas popping up. And then you would have basically a different output that was set out with that. And like I really want to scroll to the poetry example because I think that really illustrates this the best. Let's see.
I'm just really liking how this is like a very interactive view. Like you can hover and click and
Yeah,
investigate
yeah.
a little.
Yeah, you can hover and click and take a look at what they're trying to explain through this. So where are we here? Like the poem example here. This is super interesting. Sorry, I'm trying to find the right diagram. So because there's a lot to read here, and it's like a lot to really
It
kind
is a lot. Yeah, that's the
of
yeah.
digest. But there's one like okay, so this is sort of like an example of like how different layers would produce different activations. Um, and so like the prompt here was create a rhyming couplet. He saw a carrot and had to grab it, so that's part of the prompt. And then the output was his hunger was like a starving rabbit, right? And so that's the completion here. And so moving through the layers, right? Like here are the tokens that are coming in. The next layer output is like produce something that rhymes with E, I, T, E sound. They explain that like this isn't really what's happening, but this is how we can conceptualize it. And then that moves in and finds a series of words. The ones with the stack, the way they kind of visualize the stack is that the top ranking token at that layer of activation is, rabbit can be rabbit or habit. And then and then the last one is like which possible token to say. So you're saying rabbit, and so you're completing the best tokens coming out, and the model is completing that sentence with this token. And so what I found really, really interesting here, and this is kind of like this is how they're saying there's some evidence of precognition as this model is or at least characteristics of precognition. I can't say if there's really precognition. But they would really find like they would hard code so that the prompt would stay the same, but at that particular layer, I'm trying to find where it was. They're talking, they changed it to green, right? Like they forced um, they forced one of the tokens to be green, and that would change the entire everything that was in the word before. Okay, well, here's an example where they forced it to habit. So they gave a negative rating to, like, they forced a negative rating to rabbit to -10. And so very much by forcing that last, what would be the last token would actually change the tokens before it. So his hunger was a powerful habit. But the only thing they really modified was that habit piece, right? So instead of, you would, if you're thinking of these models as just generating tokens, as constantly predicting the next word, that's not completely true, right? Because what's happening here is there's a lot of parallel information going on. So there's some impact of what certain nodes are impacting other nodes, um, even though like sequentially those tokens are coming out later. So you would think if you're just freezing one token, you would still get like a starving habit, which doesn't actually make sense. The replacement model is actually reconstructing the entire sentence. So there's some like characteristics of like, okay, well, if my only option is habit, here are some how the other tokens should lay out. So there's still some sense coming into this, or I mean, I don't know if it's thinking that there's sense, but there is, it does change the behavior quite a bit. So I found that really, really interesting. Like the reason I started reading this is just like I kind of get more intuition about how models work, just general knowledge. And so as I'm using them to um, AI engineer things, including agents and different processes, like how does my intuition impact? So I don't know if I really got that here, but and so here you can see that the tokens kind of change with this force, this change. And I think I can't, oh, there it is. So here when they're like forcing it, like, so again, the prompt stays the same and they're forcing it to green. Then like that second, that there's been a few examples of that second line being, so it's still like a rhyming couplet. He saw the carrot and had to grab it. They force one word, which is the very, very last token. And it changes the entire sentence. Evading the farmer, so youthful and green, freeing it from the garden's green. So they ran through a couple of examples uh, um, that would completely change that sentence. So I thought that was really interesting. And they talk about this through like language. There's a whole section on how like do models think in English, and how um, forcing like the language changes the tokens, which was kind of interesting as well. But I like this example the most because I think it's the most intuitive and kind of seeing what they're getting at here is like how is this sort of parallelized transformer that's generating all these tokens at once behaving, and how that's kind of similar to maybe how we think about things. So I don't know, I'll stop there for a minute and see if that spawns any conversation or thought.
There's kind of a trend in the talks on Friday that I've gone to where like there's always some point where things just get brain melting, where I'm just like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. I mean, like, let alone just the sheer token count of this entire blog post and everything that could be like discovered from it. But just conceptually, like I'm barely wrapping my head around what, GPT as like an architecture is, let alone now we're going to parallelize it. Like, wait, what? But I like the way that you framed it of like how you understanding your intuition. You're like, how do I build intuition about how to use this thing? Like how do I understand what this can be pushed to do to produce even more interesting output? Yeah, it's a trip.
Yeah, and like these are researchers trying to figure out like behavior. And it's interesting that like someone's looking at this in this way, right? Like what is the behavior of the model, right? So we understand how a transformer works. When it's trained, it'll produce certain outputs. Now let's tinker with the inside of it. Like it's something we can't do with a human brain, right? Like we can't say like make this neuron always fire that like this, right? Like, but you can start doing that with uh, these models and transformers. Yeah, so that's kind of I thought that was really trippy. I really want to get into some of the other examples and deeper into some of the other examples. Um and hopefully like somewhere down the road some insight clicks when I'm like trying to solve a problem, be like, okay, well, I understand the model, what the model's doing a little bit. I don't know what that is yet. So a little bit off topic, a little bit more meta than like trying to apply different sort of techniques in AI engineering. But I thought it was kind of cool, and then it's kind of fresh in my head. I'm still trying to understand uh, what uh, what the implications of this paper is. And like I said, I'm
Yeah,
like a third of the way through it, so it's
yeah, it's a lot to digest.
yeah, but it's actually pretty accessible. And I know we were talking a lot about LLM Paper Club, and I've had the same sort of experience where I've gone in there, and if I'm keeping up with the papers, I can start getting an understanding and like really reading them. And I found Paper Club most useful when I took a little bit of a hiatus. I took like a 3 month break from work, and I was like reading a lot of the papers that they were talking about, and I was actually getting an intuition about like how that was working and what, what some of the papers that were talking about, what they really meant. And I think at the time, like it was still like we were still in the RAG days, which is funny to think about now. Like RAG was
Right,
really,
right. Rag is dead, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if it's really dead or not, but like we're talking have more advanced concepts for managing context than just RAG. So but it was in the RAG days, and and just like being able to have like reading a paper and just like, oh, like this, what they're trying to say here, what they're saying here is that like um rather than training models on particular data, they can be more performant having a generally trained model plus RAG, right? Those, I remember one of the papers that was in there. So having being able to distill like what a paper says into a simple kind of way. So but it is really hard if you can't keep up with it and keep up with the academic language. But this particular paper I think was very intentionally written. It's still very dense, but it's intentionally written to be accessible. So I recommend taking some time to look through it. Is kind of cool.
Yeah, good share. It is definitely a full-time job to even keep up with one of these, specific lanes, let alone like I think it sounds like a bunch of us are in here trying to build businesses, small
Mhm.
team. How do we get the most leverage from having all of these new agent tools? But man, like yeah, it's hard.
And then,
It's
and
also
and
like it's a
there's
trip. Like this is cool stuff. We're talking about like, is this computer like, does it have cognition? Like, is Data the robot real yet? Like that positronic matrix is like becoming a reality where it
yeah,
was like a 1980s like sci-fi concept, but now it's happening.
yeah, that's totally it. Yeah, it's weird. So this is I'm on my other computer here, so this is kind of I'm looking at Yugi here and I'm over there. Uh and I just walked over to it just so I can say hi and you guys can see. I feel this is a little bit more fair. That's me. Um Yeah, and so we're really getting into that phase now. Like this is exactly what this paper is talking about, is like what can we do here to start building up evidence that there is thought or isn't thought? Like how can we discount and how can we like discount those ideas, and what does precognition really mean, right? Like, the fact that there is some reasoning happening before the final reasoning. Um, and so it's going to be interesting, like the future of like psychological research and how it like will meld with like AIs and like maybe language models will eventually be like simple models for um, um, therapists or psychologists to study. I don't know, like we're not there
It's
yet,
wild.
but it's wild to think about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna take a moment to express some gratitude as we're coming up on time that like we have a space to explore this and have this conversation. Like I'm glad that we're all on this Discord trying to find our way through this crazy, chaotic, avant-garde software LLM. Can the computer think? Yes, but also no, but also yes. Like the Turing test is that still valid or do we need new tests? Like what is how like we're all just kind of scrambling to keep up after like what 3.5 dropped and suddenly the world changed. Crazy.
Well, thanks for wrapping it up on that tone, Zach. So now we're running on time. Just want to have one ask. If you had any strong thoughts about switching to Zoom from Discord stream, let us know in the Discord channel AI in Action. But we'll continue trying this experiment out for the next few weeks. And also, if you want to talk about anything next Friday, we still have an open spot. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.